Hi everyone. I'm gonna wait a second here. I don't think the notice has quite gone out yet. But I'm back for a second week in a row. It feels a little bit like, I'm coming back from the summer holidays with a bang, where we want to have lots and lots of chats and just getting to actually get in the groove of knitting for the autumn again. If you are in here, give us a shout, give us a wave. If you have any questions, pop them up. As the actual title of of this indicate, we're actually going to be okay. I'm trying that again. You able to hear me? I seem to be having a bit of an echo on my end, so I can hear myself talking back. So anyone who's in there listening, let me know if that's happening for you as well. I'm hoping it's just in my end, because that would be really good. Oh, I think this is better. There was a second one opening. Oh, yeah. Okay, I can hear the echo. Okay, I think we're okay now. There was two windows open, and that was the problem. So I do apologize. That's my problem always. I've got way too many windows opening. So I think we should all be good now. Really sorry about that. I hope I didn't give anyone a headache with this. But I will start again. We'll have this like as the fresh start again. I hope you're all having a really good week. Anyone in Ireland here, we've had up-down weather. We've had rain over the weekend. I went to my second child graduated up in Dublin, but it's the first graduation that I've been able to go to, because our first graduation was a COVID graduation and it was all online. And last time round, this son has it's a master's, so it was a master's graduation, but for the undergraduate, it was last minute notice, didn't hear, and I wasn't able to go because I was teaching. But this time I got to go, and it was on my birthday as well. So it was like a double celebration this week, which was really nice. I hope you all enjoyed the Saoirse launch last week, our knit along, or autumn knit along. There's a lot of excitement starting already. I am going to be going into talking about the autumn seasons, but I'll just have one little question that kind of came up a small bit in relation to Saoirse, and that was in relation to swatching and how you should swatch. And it's a really good question, because what people want to know is, should you be swatching flat or in the round? And that's actually a more complicated question than you think, because as a general rule, if you're doing it strictly by the book, you want to go and swatch in whatever method you're going to be using in the sweater. With the Saoirse sweater, there's only a tiny bit that's done flat. Everything else is in the round. So that means that if you want to be sure that your gauge is accurate, then you should definitely be swatching in the round. The second answer to that is swatching in the round is a little faffy. It's a little awkward. And if you're actually doing it as a tube, you're not actually going to get a terribly accurate gauge, because small tubes will tend to give you a tighter gauge in my experience. So it can sometimes be a little bit deceptive. I have put up a link on the forum and also within Teachable on how you can do it if you're doing it, if you're doing what I call a faking flat one, where you're going to work the right side of the work, slip it back to the start of double pointed needles or circular needles, strand the yarn behind, and do the next row. The reason that's actually going to be both a little easier and a little more accurate is because you can lie it flat, which means that you're not going to have it trying to pull it into a really small circle, which can kind of create a false tighter result for you. And it's much easier to measure, so you only have to do half of the round. Downside is you will get a few loose stitches on each side, so you have to make it a little bit wider so that you can ignore those. But the main reason that why you might want to do it is if you've got a very loose purl row, when you are doing a swatch back and forth, say in stockinette stitch, wrong side rows are going to be purls, so that means it's going to be a little bit looser, so it can be a small bit deceptive. Some people don't have much difference between knits and purls. If you have never noticed much difference between knitting in the round versus knitting flat, then just do a swatch knitted flat and it shouldn't be any problem. So like I said, Seems like an easy answer, but it's actually got a few layers to it. So hopefully that will give you kind of a decision-making process to decide how you should swatch and what works best for you. For me, I do tend to do it flat simply because I don't have an enormous difference between flat and in the round if I'm using an animal fiber. But I know that's not the case for everyone. I've got lots of happy birthdays over there. Melvia, what's the sweater I'm wearing? This is actually an older sweater. Let me stand up here. It is the Barack cardigan, B-R-E-A-C. And it was originally, we did it in a Manos del Uruguay Franca. And this is a Malbrigo yarn. I think it might be a newer yarn of theirs. And sneak hint ahead, we are going to be getting some of it in stock because I loved knitting with it. It's a super wash, which I don't usually use very much, and it's kind of a fluffy one, but there's a thread around it which gives it a little bit more cohesion. And anyone who's knit with Malbrigo before, their yarns, they tend to be very glossy, so keep an eye out. We'll be sending a newsletter in the next few weeks or popping stuff up in social to tell you about it, but the cardigan is Barack. So yeah, just making sure that was the only question that was up there. But what I did want to talk to you about today is all about the Autumn Seasons Club. Now, I know there's a few of you on there who are subscribers and you've had it renew and you're looking forward to what's coming. I'm going to give just a little bit of a hint about that. And for anybody who's a bit confused about maybe what traveling stitches are, or if you do have questions about traveling stitches, pop them up there. If you've been in our Seasons Club before, you know the Seasons Club is all about techniques. We move through techniques. Sometimes we revisit techniques we've done before because some techniques have many, many layers deep that you can dig into. And other seasons like this one, we pull up something that's brand new. It's traveling stitches is the technique we're doing. And it's kind of like a combination of a few different ones. There's a little bit of cabling in it, but it's just single stitch cabling. And it's worked in the round, which allows you to do a 2-color background that is got a single round worked with each color. So normally let me pull this over here. This is not exactly the same, but it's kind of the best way to put it, a variant on the technique. So this is the ribosome cardigan. The yoke is worked from side to side flat, and you can see the background is 2-color garter. If you're working garter stitch flat, it means you have to work 2 rows for the color for each one to come around to the start. So you'll knit right side row, wrong side row, and then when you come back to the start of the next right side row, you can pick up that second color and work it. And when you're doing the actual cables, these are full cables. When you encounter the color, the wrong side, or the contrast color, in this case, the dark brown, you're just going to be slipping those stitches so that when you hit the cable stitches or the knit stitches for the cable. So what that will mean is these stitches will only ever be worked with that pale blue color or the main color. So that means they'll be slipped for 2 rows when you've got the brown or the contrast color. And then when you hit the main color, you're going to work them in stockinette stitch. So knit them on the right side, purl them on the wrong side. And that will mean they stand out and they'll always be at the front of your work. So this is the closest thing to traveling stitches, but it's a little bit more refined is the best way to put it. You're working it in the round, which means that your stripes, your garter stitch stripes, have got 1 round in each color. So I'm going to show you the back of the hat because the front of it does have the color. So you can see here when you've got 2 rows that are in garter like this, 1 color is knit and the other is purl. So it creates almost this beautiful texture background. So you can see this one is the bright color, but if you've got it in the seasonal color, the colors are a little closer together. And so when you put it together, it creates a very, very subtle, marled background. And then you'll pick whichever color you're going to actually work with for your cables. So I did a tiny little swatch here to just show you what this looks like. So you can see here, background has got 1 color here. If I remember correctly here, the main color is the light color. And so those were all knit. So on the front where the actual pattern is, you can see those ones are all going to be knit. And then the dark color will always be purled. So if I turn to a little bit, which has got some more stripes here, you can see how it creates basically almost like a textured or a slip stitch pattern, but it's just garter stitch alternating between each round. So you do I mean, you could do it flat, but it will be really tricky. The easiest way to work it is in the garter stitch like this is in the round, because then you very easily see the two. So then what you've got for the traveling stitches, they're single stitches versus the 2-stitch cables I was showing you in ribosome. 1 stitch of that color and it cables back and forth like this. And because you've only ever got a single round in each color, it's much easier to be able to kind of move things around as you're doing it, because there's only 1 row in between that you're going to be slipping the other stitches. So it's a very straightforward technique to do. There are a few kind of little things that will end up tripping you up as you swap back and forth and keeping an eye on where things are going. So a big part of the classes will be talking about how to read the chart, how to actually track when you're running into problems and keep an eye on the different color changes as you're going through and things like that. But it does create a beautiful effect. And like the colors I was showing you here, the seasonal color here, these two originally, Emer's inspiration was some of the actual 70s style graphic designs. You might have seen them where they've got a lot of kind of flowing in and out, and this kind of color combo would be very popular. The Brights one, which I've kind of been showing you, is a much higher contrast. So it's going to be I think it works very well also, but it will look very different from this, because this is going to be a little bit more subtle. This is a little bit, oh, sorry, I've actually pulled up the wrong one there. This one is a little bit higher contrast. So this is Cerebellum. This is Cafe Flamingo. The two ones I had here for the seasonal are Harvest Moon and Rolling Bales. And our subtle color, which will actually give you a pretty decent contrast between them two, is going to be Copple and the natural Bare Necessities, which is the undyed color. All of these, I think, will be just incredible in the work. So I've shown you the edge of this. I'm going to see how much I'm going to the very side here, so you can see different colors stacked up. But I'm not going to give away any more of the patterns. But there will be a hat, there'll be a cowl, there'll be several different sizes in the hat. There's going to be a couple of different cowl options to make the most of the yarn with this, because one color does dominate, particularly when you've got ones for the edging, is that you're going to alternate the main color in each, so that for one color, for instance, in the way I have done it for the cowl, this is the main color. So the ribbing and things are in that, but this is the main color for the hat. They're still going to match, but it means that you get maximum usage out of all the yarn you've got. So you'll have 2 skeins of each of those, which will comfortably knit all of the sizes for you, and it works really well. Camilla, if you could reach through the screen to look at those, I was like, let me just put these up really close here so that you get a nice clear picture of each of those colors. I'm a bit of I never thought I was much of a pink person, but I'm finding myself more and more drawn to particular kinds of pinks, and these are both of mine. This one is almost in the purple end, kind of more of a what would you call it? No, it's barely pink. I know there's another word for this, and it is eluding me at this point. And I always think of this as a dusty pink, because it's on the gray end of it. Oh, magenta, that's it. Magenta is the color. I knew it would come to me eventually. And this is another one where I don't always like these colors if you say browns and beiges, whereas when you actually pull this one, the subtlety and the depth and kind of the chocolatiness of this is one of my favorite browns. And this is just a gorgeous neutral. So the two of those together are also super. And these are so full on autumn. Like, aren't they the best autumn colors? As you know, I am fond of this one. Saoirse's knitting this. And I've knit several sweaters in the other color as well in August. I keep saying August Storms. August Storms, this is actually Harvest Moon and Rolling Bales. Camilla, you like the combinations, and so do I. It is probably one of the most enjoyable things about putting these clubs together is figuring out the combinations. I would actually, I'm going to just throw it up there to you as well for anyone. When we said traveling stitches, did you go, oh, I know exactly what that is? Or was it something that you're like, maybe this is what they mean? The other traveling stitches that I've done before as well is, I suppose, but it wasn't called up traveling stitches because it's sometimes called something different. In Echoes of Heather and Stone, there is one of the sweaters, which was done in it was slightly different, but it's got a garter stitch background, but it's done in rows. And then she elongated the actual stitches that were crossing across the fabric. So it was a little bit more complex, but it was worked flat. So that one is also somewhat similar. I pulled up Cozy Knits because there's a few variations on items that Emer has done that probably are quite reminiscent of it. So Moyne, which in Cozy Knits here, is one of Emer's patterns from a few years ago. And you can see it's knit in the round, and the background uses the same technique where it's got two colors in two complementary colors. One of them is always knit and the other one is pearl. And in this case, it's actually a cable that is, let me see, it's a full cable, so like a 2-stitch cable that's worked up across it. I think that there's one other photograph of it a little bit closer up here. So you can see how the background, particularly when you stand back, almost becomes like a marl or a more of a blending of the two rather than two distinct colors when you're doing single rounds of color in garter stitch background. And that's why you can go subtle, you can go bright, and they both work really well. Camilla, you missed the beginning, but would you have enough to make the cowl 2 times? You'll have, if you didn't do the hat, you could definitely make the cowl 2 times. That'd be no problem. But what you'd want to do is reverse the colors. So because when you've got, I'm just going to show the side here. So you see there's a cowl and the hat, and with one of them, there is a design on the other side, but it's just one side. There's the edging is done in the main color and is a pink, and the other one is the light color. Reason for that is that's the part that actually ends up using the most yarn, whichever one is going to be the main color. So if you do the cowls where you reversed the colors between the two, then you'll definitely have enough. I think it would be tight if you tried doing them in exactly the same colors, but with that you'll have no problem doing the 2 cowls. There's going to be a couple of different sizes, and I think like the size I've made for myself was the smaller size cowl, which is just, it fits really nicely around the neck. With that, you'll definitely be fine. The larger size cowl, which kind of drapes a little bit more, you might be a bit caught with that one. But I think the small size is plenty big enough for most uses, really. And actually, the nice thing about reversing the colors is you really start to get to see how the colors play with each other and how different the stitch pattern looks when you take the light versus the dark as the main color that's standing forward and dominant. And it will also, if you're thinking about two colors or anything like the ribosome where you've got the cables running across, it'll give you a really clear idea at how different each of those patterns is going to start looking if you reverse the dominant color. So it could be like a means of testing out color combinations with 2 colors when you in the background and a single color in the front. So often that's the nice thing about accessories to small projects, is it allows you to play a little bit with colors or with techniques where it's done on a small scale that you can then decide which you prefer and then move it into a larger scale project as well if you want. So it is one of the reasons why I do like doing kind of experimenting and stretching my boundaries a bit with the techniques in the club, because it opens up a lot of possibilities and things that I wouldn't have considered using that I hadn't thought would work that surprise me. It's a bit with knitting. You can sit and you can plan all you want and you can draw it out, but until you get it on your needles, you don't know for sure if something's going to work, because knitting is not an art form or a craft or a job that you can do entirely on paper or on the computer. You have to get it out. You have to get your needles out. You have to feel it, see what it looks like. It's the same for me as it is for you. And so sometimes I'm surprised by what happens, and it's a big part of what I would consider my job, is taking advantages of the positive surprises and taking it into something new and getting to experiment with it a bit. you haven't signed up, you'd like to do the smaller cowl with the brown natural combo. Are you too late? No, you're absolutely not too late. It's open. It only opened a couple of days ago, so it's still open until the 14th. So just pop into our website and just find the Seasons Club, and you can either do a rolling subscription where you'll get a 10% discount, or you can get just pop in to get a single once-off subscription. So if you get the full club, you'll get the patterns, you'll get the workshop, you'll join the discussion group, the private discussion group, you'll be part of the Zoom launch party, and you'll get a pack where you're going to get the yarn, a little craft item that will go with it, and some seasonal tea and a recipe. So plenty of time. Come join us. Camilla, the reversing is even better. Oh, good. There you go. You get to try everything. You used a lot of techniques during the knit along. Workshops are so good. Workshops are so handy. And for me, because I'm talking through it as I'm knitting it, it means that things that I've discovered that work quite well, I can actually say as I'm going through, because there's a few ones that as I was going through, I mentioned in the video for this particular technique that I must make sure to actually talk about when we do the Zoom live as well, because it was a new discovery for me on how to get two colors working in the round without having much of a jog and things like that. So I'm looking forward to sharing those with you as we go on. Where are we looking here? Camilla, you decide you'll join with a subtle choice. It is lovely, isn't it? Yeah, and the subtle actually surprises me, because I didn't think that would end up being something that I used as much as I do. But yeah, the subtle and the bright they're all lovely. They're all lovely. But I'm definitely I think that you can't go far wrong with this color combo. That's for sure. Is there any more questions popping up here? Hopefully I have answered everything as we go through. But if they do come up, then just pop them into the comments and I'll answer them after the fact. We'll be saving this. You'll be able to view it again afterwards. If you're watching it on the computer, it's very straightforward to see the comments from the live, because it all comes up in the live chat on the side. It's a little trickier on mobile. If you're trying to view live comments on mobile, you actually have to, at the comment section, swipe to the side. But there's no indication that is the case. So just in case you were looking afterwards or you're wondering where comments have disappeared, haven't disappeared. They're just very well hidden by YouTube. So have a great week, everyone. And I will see you before too long for the next live. So we'll post it up here when the next one's going out. I've drawn a blank, but Hannah may possibly put it up in the notes as well as to when the next one is up. I think it might be next week, or it might be a couple of weeks from now, but I will chat to you. Oh yeah, it's the Barack there. I'm just looking at the last question. What's the name of my sweater? The dark one on the mannequin. Oh, the dark one on the mannequin back here. And this one, if you can see it properly down here, it's a little bit far back, but that one is our Dirkla sweater, but it was a reknit in Ghoul. And yeah, we'll be sharing that with you in the newsletter before too long. It's going to be a very wearable one for the winter coming up. Just checking, no more questions. Oh, there you go. The next live for I think the date is wrong here. The next live for our knit along is going to be Clue 1 Saoirse release, which will be on the 26th of September. So it's a few weeks from now. I've got some teaching coming up in the next few weeks. I've got not next week I'm around, but the week after I'll be down in Park Nasilla for a retreat for the week, which I'm very much looking forward to it. So if any of you out there are going to be joining me, I'll see you then. And I think there's a few more. This is definitely the season of all of the classes coming up. So I've got a steady stream of classes and retreats and travels for the next couple of weeks. So that should be a lot of fun. I always like traveling, and particularly when I haven't done it for a couple of months, you kind of get excited to meet people in anticipation again. The iced cardigan. No, not the iced cardigan. Which one? I'm getting a bit confused, Melvia. I'll pop in there afterwards The ice cardigan is going to be a couple of months' time. So, and it's no longer called the ice cardigan. It's gotten a bit of a revamp as we went along with it. But lots to share in the coming months with you all. Thank you for joining me. Bye, everyone.